All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the public meeting of the Newton Planning Board for Tuesday, April 14th, 2026 at 7 p.m. We'll begin the meeting with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we have a short crew up here today. We only have 2 voting members, so we're going to have to modify our agenda a bit. Jen's going to assist me with this, I believe.
So because of the lack of a quorum at this point, I'm just going to go through a couple of board pieces of information we were going to cover at the end because no decisions can be made until there is a quorum. So we'll try to at least get done what we can get done at this point in hopes that maybe another member or 2 show up. So the first item of business that I'm going to cover under the circuit rider report is a discussion from our last meeting. It was a development of regional impact occurring in Kingston that Newton was designated as an impacted community. That application was heard before the Kingston Planning Board. It's a 140 unit development off of 107 and near the corner of 125 and 107. So not real directly impacting Newton. We were notified primarily because of the school district and the number of housing units that were being proposed. That application was heard on April 7th. It then got continued to their May 5th meeting, so they have not made any decision. The town of East Kingston was also an impacted community. They did have a number of concerns they expressed and did supply a letter. So if that's something Newton is something that you would want to consider, if you have significant concerns, you certainly still have that opportunity to provide comment as the planning board, as individuals, select board, any other town official.
Yep.
So that's kind of the update on that. The other thing is that in the past couple of weeks, I have been asked by a few different people in Newton about whether Newton has a noise ordinance. And I don't know offhand if you have a select board ordinance, because related to noise, that can be like a health, safety, public nuisance ordinance. I don't typically deal with the select board ordinances, so I would recommend contacting the town administrator or the select board on that aspect. But there is in your site plan regulations a fairly long-standing noise ordinance. It was adopted back in 2008, and it does prescribe some limitations as far as noise for decibel levels for different types of uses, and some construction time frames to help reduce noise and the impact on neighbors. So just because I was getting the question, I wanted to alert the board to the presence of that noise ordinance. It applies to any application that was approved underneath those site plan regulations, so anything since 2008.
So this would continue on past the point of the construction's complete?
Because it is found, so some site plans also have hours of operation that are part of that approval, and they're noted on the site plan. You have a lot of approvals in Newton that are multifamily, they're commercial, they're industrial. Some of them have hours of operation for different things, and some of them do not. So I can't give a direct answer for any particular project, but a lot of them do have hours of operation, not all of them. Enforcement of any complaint would be a complaint you'd issue with the code enforcement officer that ultimately becomes a enforcement issue with the select board. So it is not really a planning board matter once it gets to that approval construction phase, but because I was asked, that those ordinances do apply to things that have gone through the planning board. Okay.
Okay.
So with that, I've concluded my couple of items. So as far as anything else, so the board can't make any decisions. We can't approve minutes. We do have a public hearing that was submitted for a 3-lot subdivision. The board can't do any action on that. You can't even continue the application. In the past, when something like this has happened with the Newton Planning Board, where because of no fault of the applicant, the planning board has been willing to take on the cost to renotice for a subsequent meeting. Okay. Because that has just been the judgment of the board in the past. Yep. You can't make any decisions. It's not the applicant's fault for that you don't have a quorum.
Right.
So with the 3-lot subdivision, it would be my recommendation. And you cannot make this decision. You could make a decision retroactively at the next board if we have a quorum, but would be to have Newton's planning board consider re-notifying for that 3-lot subdivision to the next meeting.
I agree with that. I think that is something that is reasonable, and we, of course, apologize for not having our members here today. And that would be the date.
That would be April 28th. So it's 2 weeks from
April
now.
20th, okay.
I would recommend that we ask Bill to reach out to the applicant and see if that date will work for them, and if not,
Would you mind?
a different date could be established. I don't think they're actually here at this. Oh, you are here. Would that be amenable? In 2 weeks? Okay. All right. Okay,
no,
for me
go
to
ahead.
continue on?
Yeah, go ahead. I think that's really, there's absolutely nothing that we can kind of talk about or do for the Dubay group.
The one thing that I can say, because I have reviewed the application, I did think it appeared complete, so I think that there is not a high bar. I didn't have any actually significant questions of any
Yep.
type. They did receive a variance to the application, so those are my comments, just for the applicant to be aware of. That's kind of really all that you guys can do at this point. I suppose if you want, you could ask the applicant or representative if they wanted to come up to speak at all.
Yeah, do you want to give like an overview of the project, or, I mean, you're only going to be giving it to two of us and to the public? Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so 2 weeks from today. Yeah, with
All right.
that,
Yeah, so on the design review,
so design reviews, while they are noticed, they are non-binding discussions. So it means even if you had a full board, we wouldn't engage in any decision-making. It's a little more in-depth than just a general concept. Because of the design review status, I do think it would be reasonable to let the applicant provide an overview of it. I would suggest maybe not getting into a lot of depth because it's only the two of you.
yep.
But that would be my recommendation.
And on a design review, we allow public comment, correct?
You don't have to,
Okay.
but I think that given the
Yeah.
interest in the application, it might be worth at least letting the public provide comments so that the applicant's aware.
All right, with that, we will start with the property at 117 Wells Ave, Newton, Mass. has applied for a design review at Industrial Way, LCA Lot 8, Newton, New Hampshire. The proposed development consists of the construction of a 4,500 square feet commercial building with associated parking, circulation and stormwater management improvements on a plus or minus 2.5 acre parcel. Map 14, Block 1, Lot 27-3, LCA Unit 8. Please start with the presentation.
Thank you very much. My name is Andrew Peroni from Verdantis, representing Devaney Energy, the applicant. As you mentioned, this is a kind of undeveloped lot here in Newton. I'll go just kind of keep an overview. This is the existing condition survey area. There's some materials handling that was going on kind of as part of the overall construction for the lot. There are wetlands that we did map out in, I believe it was either end of the summer or September or so. And they were consistent with what was delineated about 10 years ago. So really it's been fairly consistent. There is the natural gas pipeline and easement over to the west of the lot. This is part of a bigger commercial condo development and subdivision that's happening in the Industrial Way Park. This would just be a separate lot. With that, we'll go into the development. Let me see if I can zoom in. I don't really know how to do that much.
You can make the PDF bigger if you need to.
How do I do that?
Should be on the top right.
I'm just going to roll with it, with what we got. Okay, so what we have here again is the proposed, it's going to be propane distribution operation. 4,500 square foot office facility, kind of towards the center. We're proposing, or looking for 10 parking spaces, one being ADA, handicap access. With also 10, we would have 10 tanker truck parking spaces within the fenced-in lot in the rear, so the rear of the lot would be secured. The way we tried to lay the site out, we tried to, ensure safety and also minimize impact to the overall lot by making everything kind of one-way traffic. If we tried to do multi-way, we would have to allow the trucks to turn around. It would have been a much bigger impact area. So by having it one way, trucks would come in and flow. So either the employee vehicles would park up front, pull in, and then flow out, or as I was saying, the tanker trucks would pull in at the end of the day, back in, and then pull out. On this lot, we do show, we're showing 3 propane tanks. Remind me the size of the propane tanks. 30,000 gallons each. The intent is to build 2 to start, but we want to show 3, I guess, and maybe during the full application, we can show 1 as like a future expansion or so, but it's just to show that the intent is to have 3 down the road, so there's no, questions about, what's going on here. So again, the 3 propane tanks for distribution. To the east or right of the propane tanks, we have kind of like a material storage area. Anything that can remain outside. It wouldn't be roofed. That's the intent, is just to be kind of just a kind of stock, kind of stockpile area for materials as they go out for delivery. Dumpster next to the equipment area, so that way you want to be hauling stuff all across the yard. Generally, it'd all be right there, which kind of from a flow standpoint makes sense. Transformer right to the right of the building. It's kind of hard to see in this presentation, but we do show bollards around it as a way to protect it. We also show a well to the kind of on the eastern portion of the lot with a protection radius around it, just to show kind of where things can be stored, what would have to be impacted. Also, as you know, you can drill the well deeper to reduce the well setback radius. So if we need to, we can make it a little deeper to kind of minimize the setback. But we also, the important thing was to show that it wasn't encroaching on any other lots, that it was all within the lot itself. We are showing a H20 rated septic tank as well as a H20 rated leach field. We tried our hardest to not require an H20 rated field, but because of the 75-foot setback for septic systems, we had to put it back. And the only way to really put it in a kind of logical way, flow pathway, not have plumbing running all over the site, was to put it basically in the roadway. So it would have to be H20 rated. On the lot, we do have a diesel tank, 1,000-gallon diesel tank for the trucks. With the spill, we're calling for a spill kit as required by the state, and also a spill containment area. The tank would be compliant with NFPA regulations, and I forget the specific state regulation on the top of my head, but it would be double walled, so it'd be contained within itself. And the containment area would be sized appropriately with state requirements, so everything would be functioning as needed. For stormwater management, I won't go into, I guess, the other slides. I'll just point out from here. What we're looking to do is have a mix of gravel wetlands and bioretention basins for a couple different reasons, and we're kind of treating it as 3 different zones. The back parking lot area here, the intent is to flow into the gravel basin. This section beneath the tanker trucks, there are catch basins that will capture the runoff. The runoff will then go to this unit right here, which is a oil water separator. So it'd be a pre-treatment before going into the sediment forebay. The remaining area, the rear yard, would go into this first forebay, into the second, and then the third pond, then ultimately release out. We went with a gravel pond back here, one with the size of the impervious, but also the depth to groundwater. Didn't really work to have any other kind of system back there for, depth to groundwater and the overall grading we had. The gravel wetland just made the most sense. We had the space for it. The front parking lot area, the intent is to utilize a bioretention basin kind of in the front island here. And I think, with a landscape plan, we could help, beautify it, I guess, for lack of a better word, make it look nice. But the intent would be, it would be a more environmentally friendly way to treat the front area. And then this third pond over here would be, this would also be a bioretention basin. This would be just for the roof, to be plumbed over to the pond here. So that way we're capturing all the impervious area that we're proposing within an internal system to be treated to meet both state and town requirements. And lastly, to show, obviously, the last few winter snowstorms have been kind of a thing. Towns are now starting to require certain calculations for snow storage. So we tried to make, really be diligent about where we put our snow and what would make sense for the overall operation of the facility. So right now we're showing it behind the tanker trucks, kind of tucked away over here. On the kind of both sides of transformers, obviously the applicant and the lot owner would have to make sure that access was provided to the transformer at all times, should maintenance be needed. Plus in the front areas, I know there'd likely be some notes we'd have to have in the site plan that say, turn radius or visibility for turn radius cannot be impacted and such, can't store it onto public roads or anything. So we recognize there'd have to be notes like that, but just to show that we are trying to account for snow storage as well. With that, that's kind of a high level overview of. Does the board have any questions before I open to the public?
Excellent, thank you. Jen, do you have any initial comments?
Just some basic things, so they will have to come in for site plan approval.
Right.
Which would have to be noticed to any of butters as well, so anybody that has just walked in, if you were noticed or you're an interested abutter, this is just a design review, it's non-binding, a formal application have to be submitted. They will need a conditional use permit under the groundwater protection ordinance as a propane distribution. It is an allowed use with a conditional use permit. It's a prohibited use would be if it was home heating oil or if it was a gas station. That would be prohibited. As propane, this is allowed.
Is that for the distribution specifically? Because obviously they're going to have diesel there for fueling their own trucks.
That does not fall under the regulations. The way the groundwater ordinance is written and state law, if it's in a mobile unit, if it's in a vehicle, it falls under different regulations. Okay. So awesome. that is fine.
That was one of my main questions.
And again, with the diesel tank, it would have to be double walled, and we would have the spill containment for the refueling areas too. Plus, we try to grade everything back towards the catch basins that would then go through the oil water separator as well. So we're trying to multi-level of protection.
The spill system there, that was pretty impressive. I kind of looked at it.
So as a use in the groundwater district, this is an allowed use. There are some performance standards that are baked in there that they have to meet. That includes stormwater and has your normal stormwater regulations. So that's a component. I strongly recommend touching base with the fire chief, who I think will have some questions for you and will want to get his comments, certainly. The one concern I have with the site in particular is because of the DOT driveway permit that was approved for the 2 buildings that are going up, it was very specific. This adds a complication, so you guys definitely need, if you haven't already, need to be in touch with DOT.
Just for my clarification, is that the one that had a certain amount of square footage of building?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So You know, the exact nature of it, I could see where there might need to be some amendments and how DOT, because they're the permitting agency in this, we're gonna have to default to them.
Yep.
My understanding is the current lot owner has been communicating with DOT. I don't know where those conversations are right now, but I know they have been talking. I can say that about, and I think about this, you know, this project with a couple other stuff they have already like kind of permitted, so I know conversations have had. Where they are, I can't say.
It's a complication that the more information that I think that you can provide and, you know, in writing and not, I realize that you don't have it right now, but that will make the process, I think, easier for everyone to understand.
Yep.
Before we go to the site plan portion of this, is that what you're saying, or is that something that?
I'm advising them to have as much information and have as many ducks in a row before they apply, but having a DOT permit is a standard condition of any approval that the planning board gives. It's a given, to be honest.
Yep.
So if they don't have an appropriate DOT permit, the rest of it's a moot point.
Right. Cool. Does anybody from the public want to comment or have any questions? And again, just stating again that this is a design review, so there could be suggestions that you're like, hey, can you do this? Why don't you do that? And they might take them to heart and modify the plan. So now would be a good time to bring that.
You'd actually have to go up to the mic to talk.
Yeah,
So.
and just state your name and address for the record.
Before questions come up, we did not show a lighting plan. I think we want to get through this process yet, so we do know a lighting plan will be required. In case that's anyone's question, just to address that right away. We haven't done that yet because we want to talk about the layout first. That was it.
There are several other levels of detail that with a full site plan absolutely have to be provided. This is just a cursory discussion of general use, general layout, general topics.
And during that process, for everybody, during that process, we'll go through this again, and everybody would have a chance to come up, the abutters, and talk about that then also. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Tim Tanner here. Just a quick question. I heard you mention a DOT permit. What does that have to do with the property that they're looking at?
So because of how this lot has been developed, the access onto this property, it actually was a development of a driveway. It's a private road. They had to get a DOT driveway permit to even connect what is this private roadway to this. It was partially permitted with a previous application. There are 4 industrial buildings that have been approved in this vicinity, 2 of which are under construction or constructed. That had certain constraints with it, and that's at the state level for giving that permit.
So they don't have an actual permit to get to the state road just yet?
They do have a permit for the development that's already happening. For this project, they do not have clarification of approval.
Essentially, they'll have to adjust that each time in theory that something needs to be built.
Okay. Because I'm a part owner of 185 South Main Street, so I'm just trying to figure out what's going on up there.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sure.
Good evening, Steve Beck, 20 Ridgewood Road in Plastow. I've lived through a lot on this property, but 20 Ridgewood for over 30 years. So I've seen a lot happening on this site, from the building of the puzzle factory way back when, the installation of that gas pipeline. So I've seen a lot of things and gone through a lot of things with this property. I applaud your explanation tonight. Great job. I did have a few questions and maybe a couple of comments. First one was a plan note. Maybe you can explain to me a little bit, but on your existing conditions, there's a note on your plan that says a 200-foot change of zoning from rear corner. Could you explain what that means? So it's on your existing conditions on the right-hand side. I just was curious if is some sort of change of zoning that's going to be a requirement to put this building in, or if there's a setback requirement or variance that's going to be needed.
So I can actually answer that. There is no zoning change needed for this building. Newton has an internal buffer zone when any light industrial commercial zoning district, of which this property is located in that district, there is a 200-foot buffer between any residential district.
Okay.
So that has been a longstanding Newton regulation.
I knew of that, but the way it was written on the drawing, it says 202 existing condition. I wanted to, okay. So another question was, who actually owns this property right now? It was noticed to the abutters by Devaney Energy. My knowledge is that, do you own the property yet, or is it still owned by 125 Development?
They don't, Devaney does not own it yet.
So I would make a recommendation to the board that everyone on Ridgewood Road should have been notified in this case, where Home McDonough still, or 125 Development still owns that property. So for proper notification, I think it should be, it was only 2 people in Ridgewood that notified myself and 18 Ridgewood.
Meaning the entire, basically the entire
Correct.
industrial complex, anything that's abutting that.
Because the property that 125 Development owns goes into Plastow and borders all those properties.
Right.
I do, if I can address that for just a second. There have been several subdivisions that have happened in the past few years where there has been subdivisions, so the abutter notification has shifted a little bit with this property.
Check it. I think you'll find that it may be everyone still needs to be notified.
And that very well may be. I just want to
Yep.
put that on the record.
Okay, I saw on the plan that there's 3 30,000 gallon propane tanks, so there's no oil. So the only fuel other than propane is the diesel storage for the gasoline for the trucks. Okay, how about hours of operation? In my mind, fuel operation is a 24/7 operation. Is that going to fit the town guidelines for, hours of operation? You got to make emergency deliveries. It's just a fact of your business. So again, something for the board to consider in the future. My main 2 concerns are environmental, because this property sits directly in the aquifer of the water source for our community. We're a 43-lot subdivision called Greenfield Hill Estates. We gain our water from 5 wells. This property falls in the aquifer, so it is critically important to any, I don't know if that changes the rules, Jen, about, groundwater rules. Is it changed if it's in an aquifer? Because any contamination to the soil basically negates my ability to get water and takes the value of my home to 0. So, a huge concern.
So I believe, and Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that is why the regulations in our industrial area are the way that they are.
So a large portion of this property does have groundwater or wellhead protection areas underneath it. So all of Newton's groundwater ordinance does apply, and it does have a lot of restrictions because of potential contamination. Propane, however, is one of the few things we think of as heating fuel that actually is allowed.
Okay, but there is...
Because of the nature of how propane doesn't get into water.
Understood, but there's still diesel storage there. I know they're doing everything to modern standards, doing a double wall tank, have all the, retention ponds, but it's still, if something happens and gets into the groundwater, we're done.
There are also some performance standards related within that ordinance itself, but it would apply.
And my last point would be a safety concern. I think we can all see that the corner of the parking lot and the building is probably less than 75 feet away from the right-of-way of a 30-inch high-pressure gas main. I think putting gas next to gas is just a safety concern that anyone would have. You're compounding the disaster potential that Newton nor any fire department in 25 miles of this situation would have the ability to deal with in a catastrophic failure. So it's next to a gas pipeline. Why would you compound that issue?
Are you referring to the parking or?
No, the storage facility, the 330,000 gallon tanks are what, 100 feet away from the, if there's a catastrophe in those tanks, you're very close to a 30-inch pipeline, high pressure pipeline. Again, it's just, common sense would say, why would you compound, there's a better place for this, in my opinion, that's all. That's all, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I will say that reviewing the application, you had some of the same questions that I had with the 200-foot change, which I was able to look up myself, but the big thing was if it was going to be home heating oil fuel, it would have required a variance, and the chances that that was going to happen was probably not great. So you kind of hit on a lot of the things that we're already going to be considering on the board. Anybody else? Sure.
Good evening, Tom Alberti, 2 Ridgewood Road, also in Plastow. I'm in the same neighborhood as Mr. Beck. He basically covered most of the important things. Because of certain operations that are impacting the neighborhood, all the residents, whether Plastow or Newton currently, I think it's going to be vitally important to review and understand and put the requirement in there that there are hours of operation, especially with the volume of trucks and noise that might be accompanied with those types of trucks. So I just want to make sure that's a consideration, and that it, understanding, as Jen said, that there are plans that have it and that don't, and then maybe some it doesn't matter, but for types of industrial operations, hours of operation become more important for abutters. So I just want to make sure that's addressed. And then also in the lighting plan, it was addressed by the applicant that he's going to submit that. I know there's certain kinds of lightings that are, he may consider that, if it's a 24-hour business or at least a business that he wants to illuminate due to safety and security reasons, that they consider all types of appropriate lighting to limit the light pollution that will come to residents. Just want to address that.
For sure, and thank you. I do know that we have in our ordinances, what was the first thing that you mentioned, not the lighting? I know what it is. About the hours of operation, we have things to say you can't have, vehicles idling overnight, because that was one of the things that I thought of was, if you have trailers out there, they can't be on all night. But we already do have something in place saying that you can't do that. But as you said, some of these things can be added on as conditions once the application comes forth,
Sure.
if there are true real concerns that can't be mitigated in a different way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I like to echo Steve's sentiments. Combustion next to combustion could be concerning. I know that they're going to follow highest standards of safety, but, should and if an accident happen, that's a concern. Same thing with the trucks. Trucks are going to leak no matter what. They're going to store fuel. And yeah, there's great technology and precautions to limit how that may or may not impact. But again, echoing the sentiments, it's right above the aquifer that feeds Newton and Plastow residents, an important water source. And also the wetlands, close proximity to a lot of wetlands there. Even today, I actually have a snapshot of a Blandings turtle, which is highly endangered, traveled onto my land from this same plot of land. So that's a concern, right? Any pollution that comes off this site is impacting important species and such endangered, such as the Blandings turtle. So I just want to mention that.
We actually do have our Conservation Commission. They are aware of.
I am on it.
They
So
are
I'm making
aware
a
of
note
this
for
also.
conservation,
Member of our
okay?
Conservation Commission with those same questions.
Sure.
But I'm glad we're all in the same boat, thinking of the same stuff. It means that we're going to do, probably do good things and have this done right.
Appreciate your efforts.
Rachel, do you have any comments or questions?
I don't.
Right.
No, I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Go. Come on up.
Again, Steve Beck, Ridgewood Road. Jen, this is more for you on that DOT permit. Did that require a decel lane on 108 for that?
Part of the original approval for that driveway permit stated under certain conditions that they may require a decel lane, but at this time, it does not.
With the amount of traffic that enters Industrial Way right now, they need it now. Someone needs, the code officer needs to look at it.
That is under the state purview with that permit.
Okay. Second real simple question is probably more for you guys. Is there any approval or permission needed from Northeast Maritime Pipeline for being this close with this type of facility? Has that been looked into? I don't know. I'm assuming that's something that you should investigate. Because it may be something that may derail your plan right from the start to say, yeah, you can't put this next to this.
Do you have any more questions?
I don't know. It's just so.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's on the microphone. I can say I have not officially looked into it. I will. My guess is with the easement demarcation of the width of the easement. Technically, it's out of their jurisdiction area, so they may not necessarily have any say into that. So I will double check, and for whenever we come to the planning board, I'll make sure I'll address that we've looked into that. In terms of the tanks, and again, the technology, the security of the tanks, also, they will have to be registered with the state and require at least annual inspections. So these will not be tanks that are just set and then, set and forget it, especially since the diesel is above ground, the propanes are above ground. There's a lot more stringent requirements for the inspections and maintenance of them. So they will be required to be kept up as much as possible. Additionally, in terms of the lighting plan, if there's any other plans or questions, we also will have to submit a landscaping plan to help with some of the screening of the lighting as well. Obviously, we'll use the best lights possible to keep everything, pointing down so it doesn't go across the wetlands. But we'll also have to do a landscape plan to help with the screening as well, just so we know that light doesn't carry across the wetlands. And then my last question would be towards, I guess, the board, or I guess this is actually a question towards the board and to Jen. In terms of notes, obviously hours of operations, and there's other standard ones that we can go through the site regs to, site plan regs to, include on it, because we want to try to get as much list as possible, because, these abutters and interested parties are clearly reading the plan. So you know what, to all of your credits, we need to just list it right away. So if there's any other specific comments you guys can think of that would be applicable, not necessarily saying that we have to, because I know you can't do any binding decisions, but any notes or things you would think would be applicable, I think we're all ears to include on the plans. Just to, let's be all upfront about everything. So whatever you guys want to see, we can take it in, discuss it, and if we think it's worthy, we'll put it on.
One very standard note that I always ask applicants to put on their plans for site plans is the stormwater reporting by September 1. It's towards the end of the stormwater post-construction regulations. It just gives notification you have to report annually. I like to see that note on the plan.
Okay. Yep, that's fine.
I do have one other sort of technicality thing. This is a question for the applicant. So they've applied for a design review. The one thing a design review does under New Hampshire state law is it guarantees that they are vested, they're protected from any regulation change for 1 year. So they would have 1 year from a design review date to submit a formal application. Because there is not a quorum this evening, would you want to continue your design review to another meeting so you can get true full board feedback? Do you want to not do that? I'm asking because it does make a difference in that vesting component.
Can we
You can also think about it if you want to continue it.
and get back to you? I can see benefits to both, so.
If they continue and then decide not to, what would be
So
that process?
my recommendation at this point would be to have them, because we would have to renotice it,
Yep,
similar to the other application. It's not their fault, there's only 2 of you.
right, yeah, clear.
We could request that if they do want to have a meeting with the full board, that they notify the planning board, so that notification could be put out in the next couple of days. Is that reasonable?
Sorry, can you say that again? Yeah, you probably said it right. I kind of got jumbled.
Really 3 or 4 days, if you could let the planning board know if you do want to be on a subsequent meeting. And if you do, then the board can consider that could do the notification.
As a continuation?
Correct.
Okay. So within the next, basically by the end of the week, let you know if we wish to continue.
And if you don't, an email just stating that fact would be
Okay.
sufficient.
Because you don't know if you're going to want to come back on the design review part.
Right,
so
no, I
we-
think that's fine,
right,
and
yeah,
that's
right.
enough time. I just,
Yeah.
so we have a chance to talk about it, and, not rushing anything, but my guess is yes, but.
All right, thank you.
Sounds good.
Does,
I've got questions from Lynn Jeffries and Mr. Paterick. How do I,
So there are 2 folks that are on Zoom,
Yeah,
so if
they
you want
must
to
be on
read the
Zoom.
question.
well, they haven't,
Oh, I'm
they
sorry.
just put their hands up. They haven't.
Oh, then you just need to unmute them.
All right.
And just say that. they're able to speak.
All right. Lynn Jeffries, I think you're unmuted.
Yes, so I have two comments or questions. One is about Zoom. Jen's mic keeps going in and out, so I'm hearing only about half of what she says.
Apologies.
And the other thing was about the notifications. Steve and Ernie, 18 and 20 Ridgewood, they are, as we all are, part of the neighborhood homeowners association. So if, for whatever reason, I understand that Coleman also owns that Plasto property in between my property and 125, the development in Newton, and so that's why we're not getting notified. But I think, you know, certainly the homeowners association should be notified, even if you decide not to notify the rest of us on Ridgewood. But I think that's in error. I've been notified for the last 5 years, I think, or more, that we've been dealing with this. So those are my only two comments.
Thank you.
So,
So that's regulated though, correct? Like,
so abutter notifications are regulated by the state, but we will do a double check just to ensure that everyone was properly notified.
There is common property that abuts the pipeline, so she may be correct in the homeowners association.
And it does become more complicated when you're talking about associations and condos, et cetera. So we will do a double check.
Was that strip of land subdivided from 26-7-3-8 last time subdivided and became its own parcel?
There has been a subdivision of the larger parent parcel in the past 2 years. I think I understand what you're describing, but I don't want to definitely say yes.
Town line, Plasto Butters property, and
The little wedge that is
I know
part of
exactly
125's property that goes into Newton was not subdivided off the portion right next to it and within Newton. That little wedge is still part of the parent lot.
so that would indicate the requirement for butters or not. That's yes, but the HOA probably at least
We will do a verification of abutters, I think is the answer that I can give for this evening.
excellent.
And would we, if, for a continuation standpoint, would we have to do the notification for that, or just when we submit for the site plan process?
Because of the lack of a quorum, I'm recommending that Newton pay for any abutter notifications for any of the applications this evening. For the actual site plan that you made, that would certainly be on you.
Yeah, that's fine. And I guess whatever we do with the next steps, if we do in fact go with the continuation, we just mimic that list or re-verify that those are still the same numbers, but probably the same lots. We go with that, so.
Correct.
Just so it's the same.
But I will take a look at the notifications just to double check on a couple of things since some issues have been
Yep, that's fine.
raised.
Excellent,
Yep.
thank you.
And
Yep.
Mr. Piterack, do you have any?
I think I'm all set. Steve Beck addressed most of my concerns. Just wanted to note that this division in this building would certainly be within our wellhead protection area. And I think that Jen's already addressed most of the issues there.
Thank you.
All right, short of that, that is actually more than I thought we could accomplish, but I
Was actually
think that
pretty
you
good.
have reached the limit of that.
Agree, so I'll close the public hearing on that.
Nope, you're not closing the public hearing, there is no
It was
public
never
hearing.
open, yeah.
Nix that. We cannot do we already did the circuit rider report. We cannot do the minutes.
Correct.
And do we have any other business? Oh,
You may have talked to one of the owners about the second item on the agenda.
yeah,
But we would like to speak tonight if possible. We recognize that you can't have a vote, but I think it would be productive. We're already here.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It would be productive just to make sure there isn't any issues we're not thinking of. So if we could present briefly.
Yeah, absolutely, yep, absolutely. So this is for the, is it Dubay?
Yes.
Dubay Group, 136 Harvey Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire, has applied to the Newton Planning Board for a subdivision of 21 Chase Road, adding 2 new lots, map 11, block 10, lot 2. And when you're ready, feel free to start.
While they are getting set up, I'm just going to reiterate what I said earlier in the meeting, in that I didn't see any concerns with this application. It appeared complete. They have gotten the needed variances they needed for relief from the frontage requirements.
This is your computer, right? Okay. You guys need that?
You just need to talk at the mic.
The microphone, that's all, yeah.
So thank you, and so for the record, my name is Doug McGuire. I'm with the Dubay Group, representing the owners Troy Young and Tammy Varani on this property. And so I think, obviously, these things happen, understandable, but our thought was it would be proactive just to make sure I haven't presented a subdivision to you folks, and just want to make sure that, we're not missing anything. I would say it's a fairly straightforward subdivision. What we have is the property located at 21 Chase Road. It's a 12.69 acre parcel, and obviously a fairly large parcel of land, but a little short on having just to do a frontage lot subdivision. We had the opportunity, the possibility of doing a more robust subdivision with a proposed roadway and creating additional lots, but in talking with the owners, they didn't really want that for their land. They kind of wanted to just make it a smaller scale. So we ended up going to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for a variance to allow for 3 frontage lots, all oversized lots. So really not a lot of associated infrastructure with this. No town utilities. We're just on wells and septics. And all the lots are oversized. The smallest lot is 1.8 acres. We have a 4.5 acre and a 6.5 acre lot. So all oversized lots, and easily meeting all of your criteria except for that frontage piece, of which we obtained the variance for. So I know I'll have to have this conversation potentially again, so I don't need to go into a ton more detail, but just wanted to make sure that we weren't missing anything. If this is in line with something that you guys would be able to potentially act on with what we have before you. And
So I can start, and I had reviewed it, and my one question was the variance, because I knew that was obviously going to be needed. I spoke with Jen earlier, and Jen said, obviously you said that's been done too. Jen seems to think it's straightforward.
Correct. I think it is, for this evening, if you were able to act on it, I do think it would be a complete application and you could move forward with that, so.
Okay.
I don't have any, other than some fairly standard things if we got to it, bounds, Mylars, recording, that sort of standard aspect.
We assumed that we would be through it 10 minutes, like.
Okay.
When you
Yeah,
come in.
I mean, I did too, but sometimes somebody, don't you realize there's this thing in the back or something, or something I didn't realize. So just wanted to double check, but with that, I can, and also I don't know if it helps save you because we're here, I mean, I can request to be continued on and therefore maybe not require additional notice?
They actually can't even act upon that. It
Oh, they
really,
can't.
it
Okay.
really would have to be re-notified.
Like of anything.
Okay, well, then you guys, it sounds like you already have a plan for that, so it would be in 2 weeks, like the 28th of April?
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we will attempt to have the town pay for the re-notice.
Okay,
That way you guys don't have to do that again.
okay, great.
Make some
You
phone
guys don't
calls.
have anything else? Yeah,
Yep. 2 weeks from today.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, anything else from our teams?
My only recommendation is that prior to the next meeting, we ensure or strive to ensure that planning board members who will not be able to attend let us know in a timely manner.
I agree with that sentiment.
I also agree.
I will say a couple of our members did, but a couple at the last minute did not
Yep.
give notice. So we thought we would have sufficient quorum, and alas, it didn't work out.
Yep. So with that, I am going to adjourn the meeting at 7:53 PM. All set, Ted?